Welcome back to Let's Learn, YugiTube's greatest blind deck building show. I think it might be the only blind deck building show. Basically, if you're unfamiliar with the show, I'm going to be sitting down, reading these cards I'm unfamiliar with, and trying to learn the deck from scratch without looking up any guides or advice from anyone else, just seeing if I can take the cards in the archetype and discern a playable deck list from this. As a result, I won't be building the best deck, I won't be building the most competitive version, or having all the spicy tech cards, but you should be able to learn how these cards work, how they function, at least get a basic understanding of them, that you can then use when you're looking up other deck lists. And also, reading these cards helps me understand it, so when I face it on Master Duel, I kind of know what everything's doing. But anyway, enough yapping, let's go ahead and jump into this, starting with the field spell, or should I say the field spells? I talk about this in a lot of previous episodes. Field spells are usually a great place to start when you're looking at a new archetype, because they consolidate all of the effects into the field. It usually gives you a great idea of what the general theme that you're going to be working with here. But in this case, you've got two field spells. And if I know anything from other decks that have had multiple field spells, usually that means you're going to be like swapping between them or something, and they're going to function more like continuous spells. So I think we don't actually start there. Instead, what we're going to do is go down to the extra deck monsters, which is the next place, and they've got 4 of them. They've got 3 synchros that are all level 2 synchros. I guess that makes sense with all the level 1 monsters. And they've got 1 link, a link 1, which, at least in the TCG, has been limited to 2 copies, which should let you know this is probably an important playmaker. There's a reason they want this at 2, and plus it's the one thing that stands out among the 4. So let's go ahead and start with Yummy Snatchy. So this is a link 1 beast with 600 attack, and its only arrow points down. Its requirement is 1 level 4 or lower light beast monster. So let's check real quick. Are these all light beasts? Yeah. So you can use all of these. They're all level 1s. You can also use any of the synchros, because the synchros are all light level 2 beasts. So any card in the archetype, any monster I should say, can be turned into this. If this card is special summoned, you can place 1 yummy field spell from your hand or deck face up on your field. Also, you cannot link summon any link 3 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per chain during the main phase or your opponent's battle phase, quick effect, you can pay 100 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using monsters you control as material, including a yummy monster. Alright, so this does kind of show my theory of the field spells are going to be important, but it looks like you're going to pick one based on the situation you're in. If this card is special summoned, you get to place one from your hand or deck, not from graveyard, so I'm not sure how many of them you play. And then you cannot link summon 3 or higher, so you're mostly going to be relying on this, other low-level links, and of course the synchros. And then once per chain, so you can use this a lot of times, you can quick effect synchro summon, but you must include a yummy monster. So from here, there's a lot of ways we could go. Maybe we should look at the yummy tuners. There isn't a yummy tuner. Huh. So I guess you gotta play tuners outside of the archetype? Or maybe there's something in the synchros. That's what I was going to say. Either we can look at the field spells, we can look at the cards themselves, or we can look at the other extra deck monsters. It sounds like this deck is going to be quick effect synchroing. This is going to be like the win condition. You'll be playing, based on the fact that there's 3 extra deck monsters, I assume it's control. This doesn't seem like a boss monster style deck. It seems like something where you're going to be making a lot of these. So let's go ahead and look through these synchro monsters, see what they do, and that should give us an idea of what kind of play style we're going for. And we'll go ahead and start with the one that has 1600 attack, which is the most attack. Cookie Yummy Way. This is a level 2 light beast. It is a synchro and a tuner. Okay, so we've got the tuners here. 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. For this card Synchro Summon, you can treat a Link 1 you control as a level 1 tuner. Ah! Okay. Now it all makes sense. I think I remember hearing about this and I completely forgot. Is this the same for every card? You can treat a Link 1. Okay. And you can treat a Link 1. Gotcha, gotcha. So, you put any Yummy on the field, you make the Link, and then if you can get any other Yummy on the field, you can quick effect Synchro Summon with this and any other monster to make your Synchros. So the question then becomes, how do we get a Yummy back on the field? Snatchy doesn't do it itself, and we're probably not going to find the answer in the actual Synchros. So either the monsters summon themselves, or what I'm thinking more likely, one of the field spells probably does that. So even though we got halfway into reading this, I actually want to we'll go back and take a look at the field spells after all to see if that facilitates these Synchro monsters. And we'll go ahead and start with this one. Yummy Musement Aquaquery? Aquaki? That's a word for sure. Okay, so if you Synchro Summon a Light Beast Synchro, target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. If a face-up monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, except during the damage step, special summon a Yummy from the deck. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target 2 Yummies in your graveyard or banishment. Place this card and them on the bottom of the deck in any order. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, so at least the pop has a once per turn. I was worried you get like five Yummies on the field and then you just like Synchro 4 times and every time you pop a card. Just popping one it's still good, but it's not like amazing. And then if a face-up leaves the field, okay, so this got some protection. This definitely seems like a more defensive field spell. And then if it's in the graveyard, you can recycle both itself and 2 Yummies. So banishing the Yummies doesn't really do anything, because this can get them back. But if you banish this, then they can't recycle as well. So this definitely, it seems like something you want to tag into or add later or activate during your opponent's turn if you summon this back. But it's not the thing that helps you make the Synchros in the first place. So I'm guessing it'd probably have to be this one. Yummy Musement Mignon? Myjon? Possibly? I don't know. I don't know what that word is. Yummy monsters you control gain 500 attack for each light beast monster on the field. Okay, so that can add up pretty quickly. If you just have 2, you get 1,000. If you get 4, they each have 2,000. That makes them all big beaters. You can use each of the following effects once per turn. If you control a Link 1 monster, target a level 1 Yummy in your graveyard and special summon it. There you go. And then if this is in the graveyard, target 2 Yummies in your graveyard or banishment. Place this card and them on the bottom of your deck in any order. Okay. So that's the simple thing. You start with any Yummy, you make Snatchy. Snatchy gets you the field spell. The field spell summons back that, and now you've got the ability to quick effect Synchro into any of these during, what was it, either player's main phase or your opponent's battle phase. Of course, this doesn't, I thought this would have something to like, during the end phase, put this in the graveyard and activate the other one, but it doesn't. You'd have to have some way to bring this back out. If you can bring this out on the opponent's turn, because it does just say like special summon, you can place a Yummy field spell from your hand or deck, so you can put that one back. Okay. Interesting indeed. So now that we kind of understand that, let's go ahead back to the Synchros and see what all these do if you Synchro on the opponent's turn. Back to Yummy Way. So we already know we can make it with a Link monster. If this card is Synchro summoned, target up to 2 face-up monsters on the field, change them to face-down defense position. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can return this to the extra deck, special summon up to 2 Yummy monsters from your graveyard. It doesn't say in defense, it doesn't have like a level, it's just any 2 Yummy monsters. So that's how you can get this back. They're going to like flip 2 things face down, bring this back, put in the other field spell, and then they can Synchro again, make one of these 2, and then the field spell will pop one. And if they try to remove any of the monsters before you Synchro, you just get another one out. As for the other 2 Synchros, let's see, we've got Lollipo Yummy Way, 1200 both ways, another Beast Synchro Tuner, and you can use each of these effects once per turn. If this card is Synchro Summoned, special summon 2 Yummy monsters from your graveyard, but negate their effects. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, return this to the extra deck, summon 2 Yummies from your graveyard. This just summons every Yummy. You get 2, and then you get another 2. Granted, the other 2 are negated, but that leaves the door open to make other Synchros beyond 4. I didn't really consider that because they're all level 1s, they have 2s. I thought we'd just be using this. But the only thing this locks you out of is Link 3 or higher. And it does say you can Synchro Summon using monsters you control, including a Yummy. So you can get this. This is a 2. Yeah, I get back 2 more. And then you immediately Synchro Summon if you don't want to tag out. Right off the bat, the only real big level 4 Synchro that I know is Herald of the Arclight, which is at 1. Again, this is the OCG list. I don't have the... There we go, the TC. I guess it's at 1 at the TCG too. I wasn't aware of that. I don't keep up with the TCG. But yeah, this, if you don't know, this is when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, tribute this, negate, and destroy. So they can get a negate. Granted, you know, you lose the ability to tag back out, but they do have that option. And then our final main deck Synchro is Cupsy Yummy Way. Same stats as everything else, except it has 0 attack, but 2200 defense. You got a big defensive one. You can only use each effect once per turn. If it's Synchro Summoned, add 2 Yummy monsters from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. When your opponent activates a card or effect, return this to the extra deck, special summon 2 Yummies from your graveyard. Interesting. I thought these would be a lot more control-oriented. I wasn't expecting a search on this. I guess we'll have to see what the actual Yummies themselves do. I assume this would be one of those, like, each Yummy searches you a card or gets a card out of the graveyard or something, and then the extra deck monsters do stuff. But so far, we've got one that does stuff. We've got the Double Book of Moon, and then this one is just swarming, and this one is searching. And then they can all tag out to get back this, so you can do this again. And yeah, I can see why you would want to play 2, maybe even 3 of these, I don't know. The other ones, I would say for now, maybe like 2 of each. At least for the pure variant. Obviously, once you refine the deck a little bit more, and you know what's going to be in the extra deck, you can cut some of these down. Playtesting will help you decide which are the better ones and which are the ones. Maybe there's some recycling you can do. But again, this is like a very early deck build. This is me blind deck building. So just to start with, we'll do this, and then after some testing, we can narrow it down. Okay, so now that we have an understanding of what the extra deck is doing, let's go ahead and look through these Yummies. They're all level 1. So I guess we just start with the one with the highest attack, which is Cookie Yummy. He's got a little sweat. They're so adorable. It is interesting, too, that they've got their own little logo. Like, there's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes that have, like, a symbol associated with them, usually, like, hidden somewhere in the art. But this one, they just stamp it in the top left corner. Oh, and there's a bunch of little variants, so I guess this is, like, a sticker? Oh, it's a literal gacha game. This is like a crane, and you win, you pull out the version, and the synchros are like the crane pulling out a specific thing. Okay, I getcha. And these are like the different rarities you can roll or whatever. High rarity cookies. Okay, so if you control a Link 1 monster or a level 2 synchro, you can special summon this from your hand. And the parentheses from your hand means this doesn't start a chain, it's just free. You can only special summon Cookie Yummy once per turn this way. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, it loses 1000 attack. Or, if this card was special summoned by the effect of a synchro monster, you can destroy that monster instead. Oh! Okay, I get it now. So the tag out to summon them 2 back isn't just like you can set up for another synchro. Summoning it back lets you destroy a monster. And it's you can. So you get to decide. You can either destroy or have it lose 1000 attack. And if you're going second and your opponent has a field, you can just like special summon this for free, and then try to lower one of their things by 1,000, maybe run over it or something like that, or normal summon it. Interesting. If this is released as like an N or R card, this could be a fun thing to work in with like Mirror Masters, as just like, or even just like an NR format deck in general, just like, hey, a monster with 1,000 attack that lowers by 1,000. A neat thing. Okay, I think I'm getting this. So do all of these do this? Let's go next through Marshmallow Yummy. This one has 800 attack, 600, still a beast, light. If you control no monsters, or all monsters are light beast, you can special summon this from your hand. This one does start a chain. It's got that colon there, which means you like activate it in the hand, and then if they have something, they can respond to it before it hits the field. So slightly worse in that regard, but it is still nice that like, oh, you know, this comes out, and then if they stop the search and you don't get the field spell, either one of these two are just extenders. Yeah, Light Beast, that's just everything in the deck. So if you already have that, then you synchro, then you get it back, yada yada. If this card is normal or special summoned, add a Yummy Spell Trap from your graveyard to your hand. Or if this was special summoned by a synchro, place a Yummy Field Spell or a Yummy Continuous Spell from your deck or banishment face up on... Well, there goes my theory. Before, I was like, if you banish the field spell, you're fine. But Marshmallow says, no, fuck that. You can't get rid of it. If you banish it, they will just use this to get it back. And you can also get a continuous spell. That's interesting. Gives us another way to tag out the field spell other than using the link. And potentially the ability to tag out twice, although I'm not sure exactly why you would do that. I don't think you would be able to unless you play more than one of the field spell, and there's really no reason to unless you just want the extension. In general, though, this is more what I was expecting. This one doesn't have any disruption. Special summoning this is just like, well, you can put the field spell. I guess the field spell is kind of disruption. Maybe the continuous spell or trap. Let me look real quick. They got a quick play, they got a continuous spell, and they got 2 continuous traps. Okay, so we got a lot of options. So maybe this is disruption through these. We'll see. I'm going to continue through the monsters. We'll look at these later, and that'll determine how great this is. Oh, by the way, I think immediately you just put 3 of this. I mean, it doesn't search or anything, but the fact that, like, this and any other Yummy is just, like, two monsters on the field, why not? Plus, it has the destruction. Feels like you probably just want to play as many names as possible. And then this is probably a 3 of, but we'll see. Next up, we've got Lollipo Yummy. 600 attack, 1200 defense. If you control a Link 1 or Link 2 Synchro, you can special summon this from your hand. That's the same as the other one. 1 second. Is Cupsy the same way? If you control a Link 1 or a level 2, you could special summon... So they all have that effect except for Marshmallow. Was Marshmallow added in like a later support or something? Did they originally just have 3? The chat can tell me. But that definitely reeks of something where like they made these 3 and they all had the summon material, and then they added this one later and it just had to be slightly different to make the deck a little more complicated. Marshmallow's the odd one out. Okay, so the reason I put this in here at 3 was because it special summoned itself. I guess it depends if there's any way to search or whatever. But now that I know they all do that, you don't necessarily have to play this at 3. Maybe you still do, just for having like as many names as possible, especially in the pure variant, but we'll see. As for the rest of this effect, if this is normal or special summoned, target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. Or if this was summoned by a synchro monster, you can banish it instead. So you got the graveyard disruption. Very good in the modern game. Good against the, if you're playing the Yummy Mirror, God help your soul, all the effects would just be terrible. But I like that it gives you options. You can either shuffle it back or banish it. Seems pretty good. I guess, again, we'll just put this at 3 for now. It's not a searcher or anything, so normally you wouldn't put it at 3, but the fact that we only have 4 monsters makes me think we're probably going to play all of them at 3. And then finally, Cupsy Yummy. 0 attack, 1600 defense. It's got the same, like, if you control a thing, you can summon it. And then if this card is summoned, you can add a Yummy card from your deck to your hand, except a copy of itself. Or if it was special summoned by the effect of a synchro, draw one card instead. Ah, I see. The draw one. So if you need extension, you can get that, but during your opponent's turn, if you're trying to draw into hand traps, you could draw a random card and hope that you get into a hand trap. This effect alone tells me that this is probably not a deck that you want to mix with a whole lot of stuff. It's probably a deck you want to play with like 20 hand traps. I'm trying to think. Technically, like, if I don't think you would ever want to do this, but you could play like Effect Veiler and like the Blue Eyes Link 1 that you can make with a Spellcaster. And then if you wanted to, you could normal summon that, get the Blue Eyes Link, pretend you're doing Blue Eyes combos, and then when they use the Imperm on that, you summon like 3 Yummies from your hand and just go off from there. That's probably dumb and you wouldn't do that, but you could, because it's any Link 1, I believe. Yeah, just any Link 1 monster. Interesting. And yeah, we'll go ahead and put that up there just because, you know, as many as we can. And I'm not going to put the hand traps in there now, but yeah, this does seem very much like, you know, you play your 2 Maxi, play your 2 Droll, you play your 3, whatever, the Mulch Army, you play Ash Blossom, all the stuff that you have to play in every deck in Master Duel for the last 6 years. Even though the game's been out for 3 years, that's fine. Okay, so I definitely get the playstyle though. It's just Advantage City. You're just spamming these onto the field, and then you're shuffling them back and forth between the graveyard and the field with all these, and they get you searches, and they get you... There's actually not, it's just like 1 graveyard disruption, 1 pop, and then you can draw potentially into hand traps. And then also, this one gets you the field spell gets you another pop. You've got the double Book of Moon, and you can maybe make like a Herald of the Arclight. I don't know how easy it's going to be to synchro up into anything higher than this, but maybe. The field spell, I'm still fine with playing each at 1 of. Let's go ahead and look at, we'll save the quick play for last, and we'll go ahead and look at the continuous traps, since these are the things that Marshmallow can get. Okay, so sorry, I just read this for the first time. They really made a spell called Yum Yum Yummies. I've heard a little bit of like TCG players talking, and they're like, you know, this deck is powerful, but I feel like a lot of people don't like to play it in paper because they don't want to sit down across from their opponent and be like, yeah, I activate Yum Yum Yummies, I summon a Cookie Way, I get a delicious shaky Yummy Nums. Okay, so continuous spell. Is this searchable? Let me real quick, was this... You can add 1 Yummy card. Okay, so you can search it off of Cooksey, and you can activate it directly from the deck with Marshmallow. Search it or add it if you summon off of a Synchro. So probably only a 1 of, unless this like searches when you activate it or something. Either way, each time 2 or more Yummy monsters are special summoned at the same time, gain 500, and if you do, your opponent loses 500. Very funny, nice comedy joke. You can use each of the following effects once per turn. Pay 500, target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including a Yummy Snatchy. Send both to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Yummy Synchro from your extra deck. This is treated as a Synchro summon. If your opponent activates a card or effect, except during the damage step, pay 100 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, Link summon a Yummy Link monster. Ah, I see. So getting this gives you the ability to make the Link during the opponent's turn. It's got a little bit of like a tax dragon kind of thing, except it doesn't punish your opponent. It's more like making them pay your taxes. Every time you get out a Synchro summon, or you use your Synchro to bring back 2 things, they lose a whole bunch. And then this is just during your turn. Target 2 monsters on the field. So basically it's removal. If you have a Snatchy and any monster on their field, you can send it to the graveyard and basically use it as material to Synchro this, and it counts as a Synchro summon. Very neat, very funny, but definitely like a 1 of at most. I'm trying to think, like, do you need this? Is it good enough? It's got like 4 effects on it. But even then, I'm not sure if you need this backup of like being able to link on the opponent's turn or doing the extra damage. It might just be a little too bricky, especially if you're just like trying to spam as many things onto the field as possible. Yeah, we'll see. I'll keep it at 1 just because we're playing pure, but definitely something that like, I don't think I would even, there's no reason to side deck extra copies. Okay, next up we got a trap, Yummy Redemption. Can the yummies be redeemed? They seem pretty neat so far. So continuous trap. Monsters your opponent controls lose 200 for every light beast in your field and graveyard. So not as big as the 500 loss, but combined together it can be fairly significant. It's just these little bits. Let me think real quick. Reasonably, you would probably have like 1, 2, you probably have like 5, so like they'd lose 1,000. You know, that's pretty significant. And as the duel goes on, this only becomes more powerful. Granted, stat changes in general usually not all that useful, but it has other stuff. Once per chain, if you synchro summon a light beast, draw 1 card, then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 yummy monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls, switch control of those 2 monsters. So they gave you a creature swap as well, only in the graveyard. Let me, really quick, do we have a way to get this into the graveyard? This was the one that popped cards, right? Target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Okay, yeah, so it's only your opponent controls and only monsters. We don't have a way to, like, easily get this into the graveyard. It's just, like, if your opponent destroys it. And I'm not sure why they would. So, yeah, this doesn't seem as useful. Although I do like the ability, like, we've already got this thing that, like, draws us 1 card during, like, each turn. And the fact that, like, if you drew yummies, you can shuffle them back and then try to get yourself into, like, a hand trap. Very funny. Again, probably 1, but this is the most, like, side deckable card that we've seen. Definitely not worth activating off. I think I'd rather have the other one, because that at least does, like, a little something proactive. Because you get, like, the life point damage. But I guess if you can do it whenever, so you can decide, like, would I rather burn my opponent a whole bunch, or would I rather have them lose some attack? Depends what they're playing. Okay, and finally, the last trap, Assist Yummy. Once per turn, during the standby phase, gain 100 life points, and if you do, your opponent pays 100 life points. Useless, just there for flavor. You can use each of the following effects once per turn, and only once per turn. Okay, so 2 effects. You've got to choose which one you want to do. During the main phase, or your opponent's battle phase, send 2 face-up yummy cards to the graveyard, including this card. Return 1 card on the field or graveyard to the hand. Or you can banish this card from your graveyard, send a yummy from your deck to the graveyard, except assist yummy. Okay, so this one is Disruption. This one is Compulse, although you do have to send a yummy card to the graveyard. It's 2 yummy cards, including this one. So you send this and 1 other card you control to compulse something. Granted, if you just have an extra, like, level 1, you're bringing it back with the Synchro. And then the next turn, you can just Foolish Burial a yummy card. Do we have any way to recycle this? What is this? You can place 1 from your deck or banishment. So you can activate this, you get the bounce, next turn you get the Foolish, and then Marshmallow can just put it back on the field and you could do it all again next turn, so it's just recursive. 1 at most. Yeah, I can absolutely see, you probably don't want to play either. If I was going to be making this competitive, I'd assume it'd be more like this. But just for today, we'll go ahead and play all of them so we can experiment. And all that leaves is 1 last card, Yummy Surprise! Quick play spell. Activate 1 of these effects, but you can only activate each effect once per turn. So target 2 light beasts you control and 2 cards your opponent controls, return them to the hand. Special summon 1 yummy monster from your hand or graveyard, but it can't attack directly. Return 1 field spell from your field or graveyard to your hand. Place 1 field spell from your hand face up on the field. Ah, okay. So it's either a bounce, it's a free special summon, and then this does what I thought the field spells would do, like tag out. The first effect is probably the most useful, but it's also the most costly. Having to return 2, and you don't really want them in your hand, you would prefer to do other things, but I guess if they're gonna like negate them, or if stuff's already negated, this is pretty good. Special summoning 1 from your graveyard, this is like good recovery, but it's not a starter, so you probably don't want it at 3. It is searchable with Cupsy. You can't place it on the field, but you can add 1 from your graveyard to your hand. So if you'd want to get this back, but you wouldn't be able to use it the same turn. I would almost say this is like a 2 of, because it seems useful enough, with maybe like a 3rd in the side deck if bouncing is especially good. But I would not be surprised if Yummy players just did not play this at all. Even if it is searchable, you already got so many searchable options. And the fact that this is one and done while the others are continuous makes this seem like it's a little less useful than the rest. Oh, someone in chat is pointing out for the first effect, you can target 2 you control and 2 your opponent controls, and then it just says return them to the hand. So what that means is you target your monsters and then you synchro them off. It doesn't have to return, it's not like a return those cards to your hand and if you do, return theirs. It just tries to return everything all at once. So if your cards aren't on the field, that's fine, and their cards get bounced back. And yeah, I guess considering the fact that you're almost certainly going to make your way into Yummy, or as I said Yummy, the Cupsy I should say, because they're all Yummies, and your Link already gets you this, like if you're going to search anything, this is probably the best one. Especially since Marshmallow gets the other ones onto the field. Hard to say, hard to leg, but again, you know, for the starter, we'll go ahead and do that. And surprisingly, that's only half the deck. We're playing every Yummy card, and we've got half the deck filled up. Which means we got 20 whole cards of flex spots. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, none of these cards, except for Cupsy, search you a card. Interesting. So you've got 1 card starters for sure, but it really does feel like you're relying on opening several of these and being able to do all the stuff. Okay, so right off the bat, we're gonna go ahead and do the things that I said earlier. Let's just go ahead and pay the Master Duel tax. And there you go. This is what Master Duel has devolved into. You're playing essentially 5 copies of Maxi. You've got the 2 Maxis you're allowed to play, plus the 3 Fuelos, which, you know, wouldn't necessarily be an auto-include if Maxi wasn't in the format, but because this can draw you into Maxi, you play 3 of this, and then because everyone's playing 5 copies of Maxi, you can't just play Ash, you also have to play Droll, and then Called By and Crossout. These all stop the Maxis and the Charmies from resolving, and then also these 2 stop your opponent from stopping your Maxi. The Maxi minigame takes up a full 1/3 of most deck lists. From there, we've got 8 slots left. I think I am going to go ahead and say play Valor. Probably not Imperm with what we've got, just because it's a level 1. And also, I talked before about doing a combo with like the Link 1 Blue Eyes card, and I realized at least in Master Duel, we have access to Link Karibo, which is probably a better use of this. I'm not sure if you would ever want to do that, but we're playing a whole bunch of level 1, so like, might as well. Couldn't hurt to do it. The other thing we would probably want to do is look up what other light beast there are. This is something especially if you're trying to learn the deck on your own without relying on like other resources. If you notice that something has a specific theme like that, go ahead and take a moment and just be like, okay, what light beasts are there in the game? Oh, Ojamas, please, no. It looks like there's a couple pages of them. A lot of these can just be like disregarded, like we're not gonna play the Ojamas. What the fuck is this? Some kind of weird OCG card? Interesting. Interesting indeed. Athenian, the Great Sphinx, you don't need to worry about those. You don't need to worry about those. You know, a lot of people, they see all these cards and they get intimidated. They're like, how am I supposed to possibly, like, look through all these? But like the Gladiator Beast, you could just be like, yeah, we're not going to be playing Gladiator Beast. So I'll take a moment off camera to go ahead and look through them, and I'll see if I can find anything worth splashing with this. Alright, so after looking through all of the light beast cards, there's not a lot to choose from. There's mostly like other archetypes like Boojins and Fabled that would work on their own, but don't really mix with this. Maybe Fabled might, but that would be a really janky build, and I'd have to learn more about Fabled. The only things we really found that are working would be this stuff in the extra deck. The Star Ham seems like almost custom built for it. It's a level 3 synchro, so really easy to make with your level 2. When it's summoned, discard a card, summon a level 1 from your graveyard that was used as material for this synchro summon, and if you do, treat it as a tuner. If this card is in your graveyard, you can discard 2 cards, summon this, but banish it when it leaves the field. So it's a way for, like, you know, easily getting up into Herald of the Arclight. It can let you reuse one of your things if you bring it back from the graveyard. Seems like a pretty decent one of. And then there's this Link 2 Light Beast. Your opponent cannot target cards in the field zones with card effects. Hey, we like that. You can use each of the following effects once per turn. If this is Link Summon, target a quick play in your graveyard and set it. If this card is destroyed, for each card in the field zone, apply one of these effects. If both, apply them in sequence. Destroy a card your opponent controls, inflict 1500 damage. So not something you'd necessarily want to make first turn unless you just have the ability to extend forever. But if you can, it gives you protection for your field spells, it protects itself, and of course if you make it on follow-up turns, then you can just get back the yummy surprise. Alright, so you know, the whole conceit of this series is that I'm trying to figure out how to build the deck on my own. But at the same time, if you pay attention to any amount of Yu-Gi-Oh, there's some things that you won't be able to ignore. In this case, chat has just not shut up about Obedient Schooled. Obedient Schooled is like the perfect card for this. And even I think just sort of like casually looking at TCG stuff, I remember this being mentioned. I maybe would have found it eventually, and obviously if you look up any list, you're going to find this at 3 or as many copies as you can do. This is an old card made for Fabled, which is why it has all the Fabled stuff on there, but it works for this deck. I'm not sure how you would find this if you were trying to like deck build on your own, but then again, you probably shouldn't be deck building entirely on your own. Eventually you are going to have to look up stuff, and when you do, this will be a mandatory 3 of. If you control no monsters, special summon 3 level 2 or lower beast monsters with different names from your deck. Their effects are negated, and they're destroyed during the end phase. Which does not matter, you get 3 names. They're negated, but you just make Snatchy. And then you use 2 more, and you make, what was it, Yummy Way, that like searches you a card. And then you trigger that out to bring them back, and then get to use their effects and everything. It's just great. It's just good all around, an extender. Why wouldn't you play it? Alright, so we just had a couple spots left in the deck, and I decided to just look around, see what would fit in, and after doing a little research, I said, fuck it. We have 2 slots left, Solemn Judgment is at 2, we'll just throw it in there. Solemn Judgment is good in just about every deck. Probably not the optimal thing to be playing here, but why not? And then as far as the extra deck, in addition to everything else we had, people pointed out Zapper Shrimp. This is another Synchro 2 that we can make. Maybe we'd want to play this at 2 or whatever. We'll see after some testing. Put in a Typhon because this is good, especially in decks that have a lot of really low attack monsters. And then we put in the Link Karibo and 1 Salamangrate Almirage. This is something that you can normal summon with any monster that has 1,000 or less attack that was normal summoned. So in a case where you open with like a bunch of hand traps and 1 yummy card that isn't the one that searches, you can like normal summon an Ash Blossom, turn it into Almirage, special summon one of these, and then make the guy that searches you 2 yummy cards and go from there. Because these can be made with any Link 1. So it opens up some positions. From there, I think we're gonna do some test hands. We're gonna test it out against the AI, see how it does, and see if we can figure out like a 1-card combo. I feel like I've already figured out the 1-card combo just by talking it through it, but if you need visuals, this will help. Alright, so after messing around with the deck for a little bit, I think I found the 1-card combo. Not that it was especially hard. And not that this deck is especially linear, it's actually got a whole lot of different things it can do. Although, you know, before I was talking about how this seems like a deck you would play pure with a bunch of hand traps, but I'm noticing it does have a wee bit of a problem. Specifically, most of your best effects are activated when your opponent activates an effect. If they activate effect, then you can tag out the synchros for something else. But if your opponent doesn't do a whole lot, or if they just set a whole bunch of traps, you're in trouble. So one thing to consider if Yummies take over Master Duel, or if they're just like very powerful in your meta in general, a trap-based deck like Labyrinth, or maybe even, probably not Argo Stars, Odeon. Odeon's another trap-based deck. Something like that I feel would give them a lot of trouble, because not only do they have no built-in spell trap removal, but also they kind of struggle if all you do is set a bunch of cards and then interrupt them on their turn. Regardless, here's what you want to going first if you get yourself a Cupsy Yummy. This is probably the best one to normal summon, because even if they ash this or imperm it doesn't matter. In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead. We'll grab the continuous spell. Just to show that, like, you know, let's say they did that and you didn't have this in hand. What would you do? Well, you can go ahead and take this. You make yourself a Snatchy. Snatch away. And this will get you the field spell. So let's go ahead and put Mingon. And then we use this. Get back the Cupsy. But it came back. And then you can use the Cupsy and the Link to make yourself one of your monsters, one of your synchro monsters. And you want to go with Yummy Way. This is the one that gets you 2 cards for the price of 1. So you get this, and then you go ahead, you get to get 2 cards, add 1 to your hand, and then discard 1. So you take the ones that disrupt, which are going to be Lollipo and the Cookie. These are the most useful against your opponent's monsters. And I don't think it matters which one you put in the graveyard, because you're going to get to them anyway. Let me go ahead and special summon the Yummy Cookie. Delicioso. And then we're going to go ahead and make the Snatchy, the second Snatchy, I believe. Yeah, with this one. And then we can go ahead into Lollipo. Still learning all of these because they look kind of similar, at least from afar. The art's a little messy. It's probably easier in paper. And this will summon back 2 cards. And we want to summon back the Link, of course, and one of these. Unfortunately, their effects will be negated, so they won't actually do a whole lot, but you will get them on the field. And then from there, like, you could make this thing to protect your field spell, or more likely, you just make one of these. Because being able to end on 2 synchros, even though it doesn't look like much, is actually a pretty formidable board. Do I want to flip my cards face down? No, I think we're good. So, you know, doesn't seem like a whole bunch. You've just got 2 synchros on the field, and neither of these say negate or disrupt or whatever. But we'll see as soon as my opponent starts doing stuff. We're going to go ahead. Let me put chain on. I'm going to activate this. Shuffle it back into the extra. Summon 2 dudes. So we're going to get this and the cup. There's a 1. There's a 2. And then because this was summoned by a synchro, we get to draw a free card. Don't you like to draw a free card? And even though we like our big attack, we are going to go ahead and activate the other field spell. And you know what? We can go ahead and synchro too while we're at it. Pay 100 life points. A very high fee. And we're going to make the one we've already got on the field, the Cookie Yummy. So we do that. The field spell swaps out. We've now got defensive capabilities. We draw a card. It's a hand trap. It's not one we can use, but it is a hand trap. And then this will Book of Moon 2 monsters. Hard to make an Ixie when your cards have been Book of Mooned. They'll activate that. Their Mirologic Aggregator. And, you know, if they target you, well, you just tag out. Shuffle back. Tag out. And we'll go ahead and get the cookie, and we need to get the link again if we want to synchro. So we go ahead and get this. We get the cookie. X Ryziel, we'll grab them Ice Ryziel. The cookie effect will trigger. It was summoned by a synchro, so we pop the card. And we want to save this time. Destroy the monster? Yes. And then they summon a card. And on resolution of the summon, we'll use this. And we'll go ahead, and it doesn't really matter what we make. I think we want the one that adds and discards. So we can send those two off, make this. And since we synchroed on the opponent's turn with this field spell, this will pop a monster they control, or card they control. And then we can add two, send one to the graveyard, yet again. So let's, I don't know, these two? It don't really matter. None of this matters. I mean, I guess some of it does. Which one has the highest attack? That one? Yeah, send this. And I should have summoned this in defense mode, but, you know, I'm not afraid to die. What do I look like, a coward? And there you go. You got the two synchros that ended up being a whole lot of disruption and got you extra cards in the hand, and you end with essentially the same thing you had before. And then what you can do from here is use the minion, and you just shuffle back the two links. Just put them back into the extra. Then you can summon yourself a marshmallow and remake the link. And because we've remade the link, that'll allow us to get the other field spell back. Forever alternating between field spells, which, you know, I was looking before, I was like, oh, you know, the 500 attack, that's nothing to shake a stick at, that's pretty good. But it actually can get pretty ridiculous pretty quickly. Yeah, we'll bring back Yummy. I keep calling them Yummy, I mean, Cupsy. I'm used to, like, the end part being the part that's their name. And then we'll use this to get Cookie, because Cookie has the highest attack. We just get, like, a free special summon of Cookie. What's this in our graveyard? Oh yeah, we could shuffle stuff back if you're running low on resources at all. Put the synchro back. Put one of these. Just make sure you've always got ones in the deck. But yeah, with all these monsters, we can just go to battle phase. Let's go ahead and attack over this. Doesn't really matter what their defense is. You're never going to run into something with 2,500 or more, most likely. I mean, even if we had another one, it's 35 plus 4,000. No, if they had one more defense, they'd be fine. But yeah, even this control-oriented deck doesn't have a super difficult time getting off enough cards to damage them. Although you can imagine, like, you know, what would have screwed us over there is if they had, like, a Marshmallow or something. Something that can't be destroyed by battle, some way to put another card on the field, some way to blank a battle phase. Although I guess if they activate a card effect, then we can synchro back Cookie and blow up their cards or whatever. So there's definitely some stuff, but I could see, you know, a lot of back row, a lot of continuous effects might be a struggle for them. So yeah, overall, I can definitely see the appeal of it. I can also see where some of its weaknesses are. I can absolutely see how Obedience Schooled resolving and get you 3 cards is just crazy. Having played it once, I think, like, yeah, maybe we take out one of these because this one's not as good. I thought it searched to a spell trap from the deck, but it only recovers from the graveyard. And if that's the case, then, like, Yummy Surprise becomes less good, because normally you want to search another Yummy monster off of the Cupsy, although if you open with a whole bunch of them, maybe you do that. That just gives you more room for hand traps, or, like I was saying to chat here, I'm seeing this now, and I'm seeing it has a whole bunch of potential to control. It's got Pops, it's got Book of Moons, but it does struggle a little bit, again, if your opponent doesn't activate a whole lot of effects. And I can absolutely see people trying to mix this with other cards and archetypes. You're not allowed to make Link 3s or higher, but if you can make anything else... I'm trying to think of, like, is there a way to get into Mitsurugi? Oh, yeah. I guess Herald of the Arclight. I forgot, in addition to being a negate, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add a ritual monster or a ritual spell from your deck to your hand. So if you could synchro up into this and then send it to the graveyard for like a 5 or like a Link 2 or something, then you could search a Mitsurugi card and like you get Habakiri and then do the whole combo from there. So there's definitely some potential here. Especially, yeah, taking out stuff like this, taking out things like that. Either way, definitely fun to learn it. Now I feel like I have a better understanding of how to beat it, or if people want me to play it, how I can at least start to understand the combos. So I'm going to call it there for now. Thank you for watching. If you like this, remember to like and comment and do all the YouTube stuff. Let YouTube know you like this. Let me know you like it. And then I'll make more of them. And if not, I'll make less of them. Although if you didn't like it, you wouldn't make it this far. And now I'm just rambling. Either way, thank you for coming. And until next time, good luck and have fun.